Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Fraser, thanks so much for your dedicated service in U.S. Transportation Command, and best of luck on your retirement. Admiral Craven, thanks obviously for your leadership in the U.S. Special Operations Command. The former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates said before he left the administration words to the effect that he didn't envision the United States doing another Iraq and Afghanistan again, prospectively going forward, and words to the effect that we will not, he didn't see the United States invading, occupying, and pacifying and administrating whole countries anymore. And as an Iraq War veteran, I certainly second that, his view of that. But so going forward, if we're not going to be doing the heavy footprint counterinsurgency or stability operations, and we're going to migrate more to a counterterrorism to utilize Special Operations Command, one of the debates is to what extent, though, that you can't, to what extent can you offshore it, counterterrorism, or to what extent do you really need to have a physical presence on the ground, the human intelligence component, the other components, when we look at perhaps Yemen and Somalia as a template for going forward. Could you comment on that?
Yes, sir. And I think you've raised a good question, and it is one of the things that we're trying to address in our kind of soft global plan. And that's how do you go about conducting counterterrorism operations or building partner capacity without rocking the boat too much in terms of your relationship with the host nation. So one of the things that the Special Operations brings is a small footprint. It is cost effective to put a small group in there. They are culturally trained. They speak the language. We understand how to work with the U.S. Embassy, how to work with our interagency partners, how to work with the host nation. And so as you look at the various areas where we are partnered against some of the CT threats in Yemen, in other countries around the world, that paradigm works pretty well for us. Now, in reference to Secretary Gates's comments, I would tell you our crystal ball as a nation has not been very good over the last several hundred years. So I think we have to be careful about assuming that we would never go to major war again. That's not to say that we should accept that as a given, but we should also recognize that that possibility is always out there. I would be concerned about thinking that the Special Operations community is the panacea for all our problems. We are not. I can tell you that U.S. Special Operations cannot stop the North Koreans from coming south. We cannot keep the Straits of Hormuz open. We can do some things, and we do them very well. But frankly, we are linked very closely with our conventional partners. We can't do anything without the General Purpose Force as part of our enablers. So I do think we have to be on the ground, partnered with our allies to go after the CT threat. Can you do some of it offshore or remotely? Only if, as you point out, sir, you have good human intelligence on the ground provided by somebody, whether that's the host nation or others. You have to understand what the intelligence picture looks like, or you're not going to be able to get after that threat no matter where you're located.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly don't want to conflate conventional capability with counterterrorism capability, but it seems that we were more effective perhaps as a country when we look at post-Vietnam all the way maybe to pre-Iraq invasion in 2003, when we focused more on partnering with indigenous forces within a given region to accomplish our security objectives rather than us going in with a very heavy footprint in accomplishing them. And I certainly, but there's no question, and I agree with you, we have to maintain strong conventional forces to deter those who would otherwise want to attack us. But can you go over again where you see these out, to what extent Al-Qaeda is franchising their operations at this point in time, and it's just, it's more of a movement, obviously, than it is an organization, is it not?
Sir, it is. Al-Qaeda, of course, is an ideology, so you're trying to fight an ideology that, of course, now has people that are gravitating towards it. So as core Al-Qaeda has been degraded significantly in the Pakistan region, we are clearly seeing the kind of cancer spread. Mainly, our biggest threat is coming from Yemen. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula continues to be, I think, the greatest threat to the U.S. homeland. But Al-Qaeda in the Islamic lands of the Maghreb is a problem as they are spreading across North Africa. We see Boko Haram beginning to conflate with AQIM in North Africa. We see ISI and ISIL beginning to develop or fully developed and growing in the Iraq and Syria area. So as I mentioned earlier, I think the threats to the homeland, the high-end threats to the homeland, have diminished. That's not to say that we don't still see some threat streams out there. But the high-end threats have diminished. The problem is the global threat has broadened with these franchises that are out there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.